P. Hey, we're going live today. I'm just sitting here at home and just wanted to reach out to some people and get some perspective. One of the things that I do, I do different counseling sessions to young and old, to singles and couples. And one of the things that I wanted to find out is that, when do you feel like somebody is cheating on you? I want to talk about relationships today. How do you deal with certain situations when you meet somebody and you feel like you're having a great time, you build this relationship with you're going somewhere with that, and only to find out that, hey, they're doing something, it's not right, something changed, something different. So today, I just want to talk about relationships. I want to get your input today on how you feel and what you think about that. I need to get some insight from all of you out there so that not only I can understand, but all of those who are listening and watching right now, that they can understand too. So here we are. We're just trying to come up with some things that, how to build a stronger relationship. How do you know if that person is cheating or doing something? And maybe, there may be some insecurities. There may be something that the person is not doing. Maybe they're not cheating. Maybe they're not doing anything wrong, but you have this preconceived notion that something is not right. So I want to welcome all of you guys who are watching, wearing the King's Crown with Pastor P. I'm on here. I want to answer your questions. I want to be able to go over some different topics so that we can, just live and learn through life, about relationships. Relationships come in all forms. Come with friendships, with men and women. But then when you find that relationship that you want to have a commitment to, that makes a big difference. So I want to encourage you to participate, to fall right in line, to see what we have to offer. But it's just some things that, hey, let's just see. Let's go into this rabbit hole and see what we can find. One of the things that, that I think about is that when you find that person that you really do like, you really do want to spend time with, you've dated and you've met that special friend, and that friend has become somebody even closer to you that you really want to be with, and we come to a point to where, hey, where do we go from here? I know a lot of women, they say, well, what are we doing? Where are we going? Most women, they want to date with a purpose. They want to understand where they're going. Most women, when they date somebody, they want to know where they're going and what we're doing and why we're doing this. But most men, when they get into a relationship, hey, they get in that relationship and they just want to find out who that person is. Maybe roll around and just do some things that they just want to do. But if you just joined us, welcome to Wearing the King's Crown with Pastor P. We're talking about relationships. We're talking about, is he cheating or is she cheating? What are the do's and don'ts about relationship? And I'm encouraging everybody to participate because we're trying to find out what's really going on. When you find that person that you like and then you find out communication changes, the things that they used to do, they don't do anymore. What makes the difference? How do you know, what makes you feel that person is doing something wrong that causes you to cheat or find out to think that they're cheating? Is it your insecurities? What's going on? Is it a sudden change in their behavior and their routine? Is it they're becoming unemotionally detached? They no longer want to sleep with you. They no longer want to hang out with you. They no longer have the time that you used to spend with each other. So today I want to just talk with you and find out what's really going on. I think you see that my wife has joined us live today. And I just, want to talk with you today. My wife, she and I, we can go over a lot of things. We're normally on Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. But I just wanted to get on right now to just get some input from the men and the women about relationships and what's really going on. How do you feel when you get into hard times, when you have issues and struggling moments? It's good to know that you can overcome some obstacles. But then what's really happening in your life? And a lot of times we don't take the time out to see what's really going on. So today, hey, let's put it on the floor. Let's find out and see what's going on with your relationship, and how do you handle things when you have issues and when you have trust issues, and is it you or is it them? So I'm here to just ask some questions and kind of bring some topics up to discussion. When we look at spending time with the person, hey Brenda, thanks for joining. We appreciate you for joining. When you find that person and you begin to spend all this quality time with them, and you think that you have some consistency, only to find out they go missing for a couple of days. You don't know where they are, what's happening. I thought we had some consistency here. We come to find out where you been. You haven't talked to you in a couple of days. Now you saying good morning. Does that really have some fanfare with you? A lot of times the good mornings just becomes just a something you just do. Every woman doesn't always want to hear just good morning. They want to know what's going on with you, because women normally get emotionally tied to you. They get emotionally involved with you, and when they get involved with you, they want to have that commitment. And most men want to go high and buy it and go on to the next person. And a lot of times I'm finding women doing the same thing, that they have a Rolodex of people that they can go through and say good morning to. You know, how do you know that you have the right person that you're dating? How do you know that you found the right one? Is it that person that gives you that committed time? Is it that person that caters to your love language? The 5 different love languages. I'm trying to find this path, because I've gotten married, and I love my wife, and but the thing about it, we had to date first. I had to introduce myself, and I had to get to know her, and she had to get to know me. But also, with getting to know each other, we have to spend time. We have to do things. Now, do you spend that type of quality time with the people that you care about? Or do you just kind of do spot duty? You spend this time with that person. You wait the next week to see them again. Maybe you're dating more than one person, and you have to spread yourself around. How do you like to date? What does that look like to you? And then if somebody's not giving you the time that you want, or giving you the things that you need in your life, do you think they're cheating on you? What does that look like? A lot of people, that's an emotional impact on a lot of people, especially on women. Women, when they meet somebody nice, they want to spend that time with them. They want to hang out. They want to have new experiences with them. Go, not only just go out to eat, maybe go to a museum, hang out at the park. And one of the things I find out is this: when it comes to relationships, is that why is it that if we're in a relationship that I can't meet your people? Why is it that I can't see who your family is? I find that being a problem. Is that a problem for anybody out there? Because if I can get to know you and I can spend time with you, but I don't know who your parents are, I don't know who your children are, or what is that a problem for some of you? If you're in a relationship and you can't meet those people who are close around that person. I had a friend who was dating, and then was in a relationship for more than 6 months, but still hadn't been able to go to that person's home. Do you think that person was cheating? Hey, I find it difficult to date somebody if I can't come around their home. I can't be around the people that they love, because I feel like if they care for me, then I ought to be able to be around the people that care for them as well. So how do you know that if somebody's cheating? They always hiding their phone. The phone is always turned down. They don't want you to see certain things, but other things they don't want you to see. Do you still want to date that person? Do you still want to be involved with that person if you see the signs of you're with that person, and some other male or some other woman continually calls or texts? And you know the biggest thing that I find out when it comes to relationships is that when you begin to talk with somebody and be with someone, that you don't ask that, are we in a committed relationship? When I was with my wife, when we were dating, before we got married, I let it be known up front. I was very honest with where I was and what I was looking for, so that she understood that I was dating with the purpose. That she could, understand that me being vulnerable with her allows her to be vulnerable with me, and that builds trust. That's a trust factor between a man and a woman. How do you date? I find that most relationships, when two people meet, so many people are not telling the truth, or they not telling all of the truth, that it's hard to get to know somebody. It's hard to understand who they are if you never tell them the truth. You never give them honest feedback. You only let them know what you want them to know. So it takes so much time to get to know that person, because we have walls built up. We have, all these things that we don't want to let anybody in, because we're too afraid of somebody taking advantage of us, somebody, doing us wrong. But one thing about a relationship, it's an investment. We all invest. We put investment in our jobs, we invest in our banks, we invest in the people that are around us. So when we meet somebody, we have to know that we're investing somebody. So I don't want to invest in anybody that I can't get a return out of. I want to be able to invest in something, in someone that I can get something out of. So when I was with my wife and I was dating at the time, I invested in her because my end goal was to be married. So here we are. How do you feel when you meet that person and you have these certain expectations, then only to find out that they change on you? I don't know. I just, I always try to figure out life, when I in the situation I am right now, I'm always praying. I mean, always asking God to show me, and I don't believe in just going and looking to find out and see what's going on with a person. If you're gonna have to go through their clothes, go through their phones, go through their cars and all that, that's a little too much, to have to do that. If you have to do all that to see if a person is cheating or doing something that you feel that you have that type of concern with, then we have to check ourselves and understand, is this a person that we truly want to be with? And I think that, when you find that person that you want to be with, that person ought to give you some type of peace about yourself. It should be someone who could see and know, they want to know who you are and what you're all about. And that's what relationship is all about. And being growing with one another, learning with one another, and just knowing that God is in the middle of it all. So when we look at cheating, we look at the emotional impact and the power of institution of God bringing man and a woman together. We need to be able to know that God is on our side. But when you think somebody's cheating, you normally have that gut feeling. It's kind of like understanding that hey, I feel something is not right, and it's okay to ask. A lot of people don't want to ask those hard questions and say, it seems something seems to be a little off. What's going on? Is there something I need to know about? And mostly, people ought to be able to give that feedback to let you know, hey, no, I've just been busy. It's just some things going on. It's not you, it's me. But then let that person be reassured that nothing is going on. But sometimes, some people can have some trust issues because they've been hurt before. And when you've been hurt before, it's not an easy thing. And when you see those telltale signs of the same hurt that you've been before, that somebody else seems to be putting you back through, then you begin to question and say, is this what I think it is? What is it? You just don't know. But what the Bible says about relationships and being faithful in love, and I just want to read a couple of things and share with you, because in the book of Proverbs, chapter 3, verse 5 and 6, it says, trust in the Lord with all thine heart and lean not unto your own understanding. There are some times when we just got to have faith in our relationships. There are some things that when we feel like something is not right in our lives, something right in our relationship, we got to trust God. We have to believe and know that God is right there. And that when we believe and we pray, we may not understand it, but then God will reveal it to us if something is really going on. If you think somebody's really cheating on you or somebody's not being truthful to you, I dare you to start praying and ask God to unveil it, to show you. Now, let's be real. If you ask God to show you something, be ready for the truth, because he's going to show you. God is not one that he's going to lie. And that's why it says, trust in the Lord with all thine heart and lean not unto your own understanding. And if you do that, God will begin to show you things. And when you see those things, you have to know that it's true. Because there are times when we meet people, they're really a good part of us. We enjoy their times with us. We enjoy them being with us, but they're not for us. And that's times we have to pray. We have to ask God to show us. And then, we have to understand what love is really about, especially when it comes to relationship. Hey, Shantae, we see you. See you on. I'm just here, just enjoying this day. I had some extra time. I wanted to go live and just talk about relationships, talk about different things. What are the signs that you see when you feel like you met that person, you're on your way, to feeling good, and then you find out that something is feeling kind of wrong. Is that person cheating or not? And it's a balancing act. And here we are, we're feeling comfortable, but now we see something different, and now it puts us in an uncomfortable position. A lot of times it's really, a compromising position because now I'm feeling uneasy. And in every relationship, there will be a point in time where you question some things, but that doesn't mean that you have to run off and leave. It's just that we know that the enemy, the devil, is always trying to create issues so that we can, the devil wants to steal, kill, and destroy. He wants to destroy relationships. He wants to kill marriages and things like that. And that's the reason why it's important for us to talk about things like this. Whether somebody's cheating or not, whether you have somebody faithful, you want to be able to have that sense of peace. And when you find that person that you really care about and you can love, and I'll just tell you, I think that my wife and I, we have a wonderful relationship. We became good friends. I mean, friends to where we could just sit on the phone and just be there. Nothing even has to be said, but we just enjoy each other's company. That's kind of hard for a lot of people, but those people who like those ride or dies, those people who just want to just be in your presence and be around you, they love that. Haven't you ever seen two people? They're just always together all the time. Whenever you see one, you always see the other. That's the type of relationship that they choose to have. They want to have. But you find some people that, hey, they want somebody. They need that time. They need that separation time to kind of have some time to themselves. And I can respect that. And that doesn't mean that the person is cheating. And that some people just need that quality time to themselves to kind of, decompress, to get themselves together. My wife's something sometimes she has to just, steal away and just, think about life, to have them quiet moments to where she can talk with God, she can talk within her inner self and be ready. That when she sees me and talk to me, she like, oh, I missed you so much. I can't wait to have you back and just to be around me. So it's okay for somebody to have that quiet time, but I don't need anybody that just got to have quiet time for days at a time. You shouldn't go MIA and be missing 3 and 4 days. No, that shouldn't happen. I don't agree with that at all. But to have that type of love and to have that type of understanding, two people have to be able to communicate and understand that, hey, this is how I get when I'm feeling like this, and this is what I mean when I say communication is key. Communication is very important, when it comes to relationships because we have to understand our language. What is the language do that you have when you talk to your significant other, your partner, or whatever the case may be? Cheating is not always it's not always there. You have to be able to talk, and I'll share this with you. And I teach this all the time. You have four dominant traits in every individual, and you have to learn how to communicate. In those four dominant traits, you either have a bold, you have a sympathetic, you have an expressive, and bold, expressive, sympathetic, and you have a technical. That technical person, they like facts, figures, numbers. That's the way they learn. That's the way they think. They like information. Give them information, they understand it. You get an expressive person, oh, they're social butterflies. They can talk about anything and everything to everybody. They talk. They need reassurance. They like recognition. When you think about the sympathetic person, they sometimes you have to deal with them lightly. They are soft around the edges. They need more than reassurance. They need to know that you're truly there. And you have a bold. Those bold, they're like pie in your face. Put it in your face. They're just brutally honest. They're gonna tell you like it is. They don't beat around the bush. They beat the bush. So each person has a dominant trait, and you may flex between one and the other. I believe that I'm an expressive bold. I can talk to anybody, can talk, but I can give you hard information. I don't have a problem with telling you just like it is. And I used to say when I was growing up, give it to you like a TI is. I'm just gonna give it to you. But here's the thing about this is that when you're talking and sharing and communicating with the person that you're in a relationship with, you have to understand how they listen and how they talk, because you both may be saying the same thing but hearing them differently. So it's important when you are in a relationship that you both understand each other as best you can. So take that to heart, and next time while you're talking and dealing with your significant other, try those things. Try those, listen to them and see how they communicate, and start communicating back to them. That would help them an awful lot on how to understand what it's like, for you to have a good conversation without getting into an argument, having a fuss and fight and raise your voice. Nobody wants to be in a conversation where you yelling at each other. To me, I don't want to be in a relationship like that, you know. But again, hey, I want to say thank you to those who have joined this live. We're wearing the King's Crown with Pastor P. We're talking about relationships today. I would ask that you like, share, and subscribe to my channel. We're about learning more about Jesus, about life, faith, fellowship, and fashion. One day I'm sure we'll talk about how to dress, cologne, and things like that. But today we're talking about relationships. We're talking about, is he cheating? Is she cheating? How do you strengthen your relationship? How do you make things bigger than what they've been in your relationships? How do you strengthen those? And most of all, we have to have God in our lives. Are you unequally yoked with the person that you're with? A lot of times people get together because they like each other, they look good to each other, they're attracted to one another, but you don't even know if they have God in their lives. You don't even know if they believe in Jesus. And you can be unequally yoked being with somebody who has no faith, who has no belief in Jesus. And you like one another, you guys seem to get along, but you're broken because you don't have the same faith. The Bible says that you're unequally yoked, that you're going to have some issues down the line, that two people ought to walk together with the same belief. And if you can't walk in together with the same belief, there's some brokenness that's coming ahead. So the Bible tells us that that not only love conquers all, love is everything. Jesus left us with the commandment that we should love one another as he has loved us, so that he can know that we are his disciples. So if you're walking with somebody who has that same love for Jesus, it makes things so much easier, because in a relationship, sex is not enough glue to keep two people together. I don't care how big your tattletwacker is. I don't care, how well you do things in the bed, women. It does not matter. That's not enough glue. I've seen a lot of people break up and then they had good chemistry. Seen a lot of people break up because they they had a lot of money. Money is not the key to keep two people together. But I will tell you this, that when you get married, it's Jesus, it's God that keeps you closer together. Jesus is the glue that keeps you together. That's why when you get married, you go to the man of God to get married. That's why they call it holy matrimony, so that two people can come together and begin to grow together, to love one another. So when it's time, when you come in the house and you don't feel like talking to that person, when it's time you go to bed and you don't feel like laying down, it's not because of you, it's because of God. He is the glue that's going to keep you tied together no matter what. And you wonder how people have been married 30 years, 50 years, 60 years. It's not that they didn't go through anything. It's because God was the glue that kept them together. They all went through the same things that any other relationship has been through. It's just that they didn't choose to leave. They chose to fight. So when we think about this, and when we discover the truth about understanding the person that we're with and making sure that we are with our life partners, we want to be able to make sure that we communicate well and that we understand who they are, and don't look at everything that they do that they're cheating. Oh, they're going to the store. They've been going longer than it only takes 10 minutes to go to the store. They've been going a half hour. They cheating. Where they been? Where you been? Where you going? Hey, a person would get tired of you, questioning them all the time, about everything that they do, because that means there is a trust factor somewhere.
And that's why we have to lean on God and say, hey, God, if they're doing something wrong, it's show me what's going on. Help me to understand and know that something is not right. And if I can fix things, that let me do my part. But God, if there's something that is going on and that's not right, then show me, God, so that I can know the truth. The truth, the truth shall set you free. And that's the thing that we have to know and understand. And it's okay to confront those things. And not only that, I like to teach people this. We have to learn how to forgive. Now, I'm not telling you to forgive for everything. If somebody's doing something wrong, hey, there's certain things that, hey, I understand. If somebody's out there cheating and don't care about how you feel, don't care about your home and your feelings, I think that's a huge mistake. And the Bible does give an out for infidelity, adultery and things of that nature. That there is a right of divorce when somebody is out there having sex and frolicking around with other people. But in the smallest things, the things that we go through, a lot of times we break up over somebody doing something that just irks us, whether they left their clothes out, they didn't wash dishes, they didn't put the top on the toothpaste, they left the toilet seat up, they always, just saying things to get on my nerves, they drive crazy. And to me, those are not reasons just to break up. It may be some things that get on your nerves, but hey, you know, you get on somebody's nerves too. But the thing is this: we have to learn how to live with one another. We have to learn how to commute with one another. Uh, Communicate, in other words, not commute, but communicate with one another, and just understand, each other's nuances, but also remember how you got there. You got there because there was some sparks there. You got there because it was something that you liked about that person, and now that you've gotten to know them as well as you have, now they have some things about them that you don't necessarily care about. But that doesn't mean that they're not a good person. Doesn't mean that they, can't do some things or still make you happy. When I'm sitting down in counseling, I ask people to write down on one side all the good things that a person, does, or the things that you like about that person. On the other side, write down all the things that you feel that are bad about that person, and then you can make a determination of what things outweigh the good or what things outweigh the bad, and that's the way that you can look at yourself and see, is it me or is it them? And thank you for joining us here at Wearing the King's Crown with Pastor P. We're talking about relationships. We're talking about, is that person cheating? Is that person, doing things that you don't like? And how to keep your relationship together. Relationships, that's what it's all about. Everything that we are and everybody that we come across is some type of relationship, whether it's with a friend, with a lover, with a mate. But how do we keep those things? Have you punched your ticket? Have you got your ticket to the right person? When you find true love, it's a wonderful thing. When you find true friendship and the person that you love is even a greater thing. My wife and I, we have such a great friendship that we just love to be around each other. We honestly don't get tired of each other. When we talk about arguments, we don't argue because we come to a common ground. We know how to talk with each other. We know how to have those conversations. So I would trust that even in your relationship, it can be the same way. But you have to be willing to work together. You have to be willing to iron some things out without getting upset and again raising your voice. But how do we get there? One of the things that I like to ask is that, how do you deal with somebody who likes to lie, and when you know that they've told a story, you know, I don't do well with that. Now, me personally, the lies, I don't know, I can't, I don't know about that one. I'd rather for you to tell me the truth and hurt my feelings than tell me a lie and have me happy. That's just my take on it. I think if a person is untruthful to you and they tell stories, how can you believe anything else? Because they have no credibility. And if you don't have credibility because we're so used to you telling stories, then when you do tell the truth, it's hard for me to even believe it because you're lying. So things Shantae, you are so right. It has to be mutual. People have to respect one another. They have to come out and talk and be mutual with each other. But you can't sit up here and just be lying. A liar, I can't deal with a liar. I think most of you out there don't like liars, don't want to be around anybody who tell lies and things like that. But what about when a person's schedule changes? You're used to them, especially women notice this thing when habits change. Men are so they just do things on a whim and do things. But what happens when that person that you with schedule changes, and when they used to call you, they don't call you anymore. When they used to come over, they don't come over anymore. It does raises a red flag as to what's going on, but it doesn't mean that they're cheating. It may be it's something that's going on in their life that causes a schedule change, and of course, having that communication with them will alleviate some of those pain points of whether something's going on. But if it's something that's changed, that changes in the relationship, you don't see them as much, you don't talk to them as much, you absolutely need to talk with them and find out and see what's going on. I don't believe in secrets. I don't believe in hey, what's going on, Mr. Christopher Preston? Glad that you can join us today. Glad that you are wearing the King's crown. If you're new to us, please like, share, and subscribe. We're talking about relationships. We're talking about, is this person cheating? Are you in a good relationship? Are you in a volatile relationship? Where do we go from here? What do we do? When things change, and let me ask you this. I want to ask this question to those that are out there. When you fall in love with somebody and you found the person that you've been wanting to be with, can you fall out of love with somebody? I'm hearing that a lot. How do you fall out of love with somebody that you fell in love with? Where did you lose that spark? Where did you stop being in love with somebody that you fell in love with? When you found that person that stole your heart, and now that you got them, you falling out of love. And I'm gonna tell you something like this. The one thing that I've noticed is that when people get married or they get in a relationship, they stop courting each other. No more roses at the job, no more holding hands, no more holding the feet, no more doing all those things. You stop doing all that stuff, and you find out that now you lose a certain physical connection that you used to have that you no longer did. Just because you got them don't mean that you don't court them. I'm gonna tell you something. This is so real. People who still go into work, you'll find that your man or your husband, they get dressed up, look nice, smell good, and they go looking good for other people that you don't see for 8 hours. But then when they come home, well, let me go back up. While they're at work, and other people are telling them how good they look, how smell, you good looking, you handsome, oh, you pretty, you this and that. And when they come home, they don't get that. They come home to you and you don't tell them how pretty they are, how handsome they are. So what's going on? But in before you got married or before you hooked up and had the relationship, you always told them, you were putting cards in their car. You were telling them how pretty. You were sending them text messages. I'm just thinking about you. But you don't do that anymore. We stopped courting. And that's why I find that some people who say that they've fallen out of love because they forgot how to be in love with the person that they fell in love with. What's your opinion on that? Am I right or wrong about it? Tell me. I'm trying to understand like everybody else. Because I know even though I'm married now, I make sure that if anybody is just telling my wife pretty, nobody's going to tell her how pretty and more than I am. I'm going to court her more than anybody else. I'm going to make sure that she has all the things, not only necessarily that she needs emotionally, but as well as spiritually. I'm going to be able to make sure that I pray with her, that I talk with her, and that, she has everything she needs. It's just like a flower. If anybody ever had a garden or have flowers in their homes, you know that you just don't put the seed in and plant it in and it just grows on its own. You have to water it. You have to nurture it. You have to watch it. Keep the bugs off of it. You have to make sure that it's good. So that's no different in any relationship that you're in. And when you stop tending to your relationship, that's when the bugs come in. That's when the other man or the other woman comes in. And they take away the attention that you should have in the first place.
Am I right about it? I don't know. Shantae, I see you say you're right. It is so right. Now, from a woman's perspective, hey, is that, I see Shantae said, but what about a man's perspective? What is it that a man, feel like he needs? Now, women, I have to talk to you about men because I am a man. A lot of times you don't cater to that man's ego. A man has an ego. You know he is. And the alpha males, they are who they are. They the man. They the king. They stand up. They don't take no mess, but they know how to love. They know how to be that man that you are. And a lot of women don't cater to their ego. They don't tell them. We always want to point out what they did wrong, but you don't never tell them what they did right. Hey, I appreciate you for being the man that you are. Thank you for this. And let's be real about it. Let's talk about a man's ego. I want men. I know y'all gonna agree with me with this. Your ego, and I want to take it here because it's the truth. When you in the bedroom with your girl, what is the one thing that you want her to say? Daddy. You want her to say, do this and do that because it caters to your ego. She is cheering you on in the bedroom. That's real talk. That's real talk. And women, you need to learn to take that energy and use it to the natural part of life. Cater to his ego when he's going to work. Tell him how good he is and the things that he does, he's so good. We so point out all the things that he does wrong. But when you start catering to a man's ego and you start stroking him from an emotional standpoint, he will become Superman for you. He'll become Superman for you and your relationship because you're catering to his ego. But also, men, I got to talk about you as well too. A lot of times we don't nurture our women like we should. We need to listen. One of the things about men, we don't listen like we should. A woman will tell you everything that you need to know. But if you're not a good listener, you will miss everything she's telling you. I'll give you an example. If you ever go shopping with a woman and she stops and she wants to show you something, I like this. This color looks good. She's telling you she wants that. So when her birthday or something comes up, that's what you need to get. You have to listen to her. When she's talking to you and telling you, something around the house, she's not just complaining. She wants you to hear what she has to say. And most men, we just look at it that she's complaining, but she just wants to know that her voice is being heard. A lot of times we don't do that. So here, what is it? What is it? Tell me what it is. Give me some insight. You're worried about your woman cheating. Now let's talk about something else. A woman. Do you like for your woman, men? When we see these Instagram women, we see all these girls that wearing tight skirts, these dresses. Oh, they look fine, they're pretty, and all this. But when that's your woman, when that's your wife, do you want her dressing like that? Do you want your woman going to work like that? You want her going out like that? And I'm finding that some women say that men are insecure because of the way a woman dressed when she goes out. I'm sorry. I don't think everybody has to see everything that my girl has to show. Now, one thing about some women, they can't help but, some women are just voluptuous. Some people just have shape. They can't hide certain things. But that doesn't mean you have to show everything that you have. It's not always insecurity. Sometimes a man is just trying to protect his woman, from having vultures all around them. And a woman, they always have men coming on to them all the time, and men too. So what do you think about that? How do you feel about, being in a relationship? Are you insecure with your woman going to work dressing in a certain way? How do you feel about that? Sometimes as just being the person you are, you just gotta know that your woman, she's straight. If you know the person that you're dating, you have no worries. And if you see something that's too provocative, then you gotta let that person know, hey, you can't wear that to work. You can't wear that out. Hey, there's certain things that, hey, I love my wife. I love how she looks. But if it's something that's too, I'll be the first to say, I don't know, that might be something you work with me when we going out. But no, that's not gonna work. How do you feel about that? Do you want your man going out, in those gray sweats?
A lot of these people are going to work because these men wear these gray sweats and they can see they talent and they say, women are looking at these men's junk at work and things like that. But hey, okay, let's see that. Chris says my wife does a great job of wearing clothes that makes her look great, but also respects me at the same time. Boom! That's what I'm talking about. You want your woman to look good. Don't get it wrong. But we don't want our woman out there just showcasing everything like she on The Price is Right. That's not the way we do. Every man wants his woman to be, be that trophy piece to look good. But like you say, you want to wear something that's respectful, something that's just not so revealing, and be there at the same time. So Chris, you're but she knows how to coordinate herself on a day-to-day basis. Likewise with men. I've managed for over 20 plus years. I'm old. Hey, that's what it is. I've managed people for over 20. What's wrong with that picture? But here's the thing. When you have tasteful intent and you respectful in how you dress, you not only appreciate who you are, but you respect the person that you're with, and that will go a long way. That will go a long way. So I appreciate your insight, Chris. It means a lot. It means a lot, and it's good that you and your wife have that connection, that you understand how to dress, because really and truly when loved ones go to work, they're at their best at every day. So most people see them at their best more than what you do, because when they come home to undress, to unpack, to take off this makeup, to take off all of this and relax. So they see them at their best all the time. But you see them in the good, at their best or bad and everything. But I find that a lot of people will fall out of love because they lose that connection. I don't want to ever fall out of love with my wife, because I fell in love with her for a reason. And things may change. And those of you who either know me or don't know me, hey, I've been through a divorce before, and I've had a wife to die. I've had a wife to pass away. I know what it's like to be with somebody and have something change, to be married and to come to find out they have cancer. And then now you're not only becoming a husband, you're becoming a caregiver. And being that caregiver can be hard, because I found that other relationships that who had a similar situation, and I hate to say it, but it's the truth. I saw the man left their wife because that person was sick. And I'm telling you, I couldn't do it. I'm just not that person, because it gets hard when you become a caregiver. When you have to take care of somebody who's really sick, it's hard. It's hard to have to do that. It's hard to be a caregiver and to help somebody up and down the stairs from doctor's visit and surgeries and things like that. It's hard. But if God brought you together, then He will ordain you and allow you to make it through together. That's why when you get married, it said, till death do us part. Not to when things get hard or somebody gets sick, then I can leave. No, I don't believe in that. And you be careful how you treat people, because you never know, that might be you one day. What's going to happen then? So to those of you who are out there who are caregivers, those of you who are taking care of loved ones, hey, I commend you. Don't ever leave. Just ask God to strengthen you and give you what you need to make it through, and God will show you, and He will show out. I'm just a true believer that God will bring you through, the thick and thin. There will be some good days, there will be some bad days, but just like the song, I won't complain. You could, but hey, it is what it is. So I want to talk about something else, about relationships, and it's like it's relationships like a rubber band. They expand, they come together, expand, and sometimes it stretches you to a breaking point. But when you are married, and I might be talking to more of you married people, and I know a lot of you singles, y'all singles acting like you're married. Hey, just living it up, sexing it up how you want to. But the Bible tells us that sex is between husband and wife, but that's kind of thrown out the window nowadays. But here I got to give you biblical truth and just tell you what the right way to do things. But in these married homes, some of you married people that are out there, what happens when you lose the intimacy? What happens when intimacy begins to fall away? Does that make you fall out of love? Does that make you feel some kind of way? And I think that's one of the most important times when you ought to be talking to your spouse, talking to your person, and finding out what works and what doesn't work. How does that impact you? Because that's something that you definitely want to be able to talk about when you're with one another. You know, if you feel that something is not working or you're not getting enough, you have to be able to talk about those things so that they can have an understanding. And one of the things that I like to think about is that it's discussions like this that people don't talk about enough, especially in these type of settings. And even in church, they don't talk about power, money, and sex. And when you go to the church, it seems like they want to leave those things out. But that's the perfect place that we should have those type of discussions, so that we can learn how to deal with things, and then we can learn how to grow and be with somebody. And when we have our singles ministry, we talk about things that singles need to know about, and that's relationships, that's dating, that's are you having sex, are you not having sex, are you doing things godly way, are you doing things the way the world is doing, and is it a benefit, or is it something that God despises? God wants people to date in a pure manner and in the right heart. And he wants marriage to be right in the right place. So those people who are married, we want you to be able to do married things that are healthy and also biblical at the same time. And that's where we stand today. We stand that we know that God is one who always ordains marriage. And if you're in a relationship today and you want to find out where you are, you need to ask God. We need to pray and understand that God is somebody who will always be with you. And especially in a relationship. In a relationship, God should always be in your relationship. It's not just between you and your boyfriend or you and your girlfriend. God needs to be in the middle of it, because without him, you don't have anything in the first place. When things go wrong, who do you turn to? You think you can fix it all? No, sometimes you can't. Sometimes it's the Lord that has to come in and intervene. And a lot of times we have to pray for our significant other. We have to pray that God would show them, pray that God would help them and elevate them to a certain level. And when we're in relationships, we got to know that we are holding on to something that's tried, tested, and true. If you're new to us, to Wearing the King's Crown, please like, share, and subscribe. You'll find many things that we talk about. We talk about relationships. We talk about faith. We talk about the Lord. We talk about relationships. We talk about a lot of different things that I know that's helpful to many people. So take a look at my videos. Take a look at the vlogs and understand there's so much to learn, know, and grow while you're on this channel. But today we've been talking about relationships. Is that person cheating? How do you know if they're cheating? How do you build your relationship? How do you grow your relationship? Whether it's attitude changes, whether the person is lying and being untruthful, watching their phone, schedule changes. We've been talking about everything. And so what do you think about the relationship that you're in? Are you in a volatile relationship? Are you in a good relationship? Where are you? And where do you see your relationship going? Are you dating with a purpose? Are you married with a purpose? Do you have that special someone that you have? And what we talked about earlier, can you fall out of love with somebody that you fell in love with? How do you lose the love that you earnestly wanted and that you have? And we talked about that. We stopped dating, we stopped courting that person. We stop, listening to that person and tending to their emotional needs. And that's why we stand together. In that intimacy, you have to have intimacy. Whether it's just holding hands sometimes. Man, that's just the best form of intimacy, just knowing that that person is there. I'd rather know that I have somebody who's going to fight with me than somebody who's going to stab me in the back. I'd rather have somebody to know that's going to stand by my side and be there through the ups and downs, whether I have to look back and wonder if that person is truly with me or not. If I don't have trust in them that they're going to be there, I'm wondering, why am I even there in the first place? Why are they even here? I don't want to be roommates with somebody. I don't want to just be with somebody just because. I want to be with somebody because, hey, I know that, I'm with you and you with me and we're going somewhere. I could be with anybody and be around with anybody, but I want to be with somebody that I know that I have a purpose with. Do you know if you have a purpose with that person that you're with? Hey, it's time to make sure that if you do not know, that you pray, ask God to show you. God will show you all the things that you need to know, but you have to be a willing vessel to hear what God is saying to you. I remember that there was a friend of mine who was worried about their spouse and whether they were cheating, and they were praying to God, they were praying and asking God to show them, but the incidents kept happening. That person didn't change. As a matter of fact, they got worse. And they were not listening to the signs. They didn't believe in divorce. And I understand that. But every marriage is not ordained by God. First and foremost, two people can come together and make their own marriage. But that doesn't mean that God brought them together. So now here you are forcing something to make it work when God didn't have his hand in it in the first place. The Bible says, he who findeth a wife findeth a good thing. But a lot of times people get into relationships and then they get into a sexual activity, and that sexual activity binds them together, but they really were not meant to be together. So here, this man was with this woman, and this man kept cheating, and she was praying, and it wasn't changing. What do you do then? Then you have to listen to what God is showing you. You have to know that God is saying, hey, this is what's going on. And that's one of the rights and will, the will for divorce, which is infidelity and adultery. So I know it's hard. It's not easy, but, are you willing to forgive and move on? Or is that just the ultimate, peril? Is that the ultimate thing that causes you? That's a deal breaker. And you have to be able to make that decision for yourself. But I would tell anybody this, and you can write this down. Trust me when I say this. Take this and put it in your backpack. Whenever you are faced with any type of real decision, I don't care what it is, it doesn't have to be relationships. Whenever you're faced with a real decision, I want you to pray about it and ask God to give you peace. I'm going to tell you something. The devil can't give you peace. Only God can give you peace. And when God gives you peace, then you have to follow that peace. When you follow that peace, that's where your reward is. Because when you pray and ask God to give you peace in your marriage, to give you peace in your home, to give you peace in your job, God will give that to you. And if he does not give it to you, you're in the wrong place. You got to listen to his voice. Because when you get that feeling of peace, then you got to know that God is showing you something. The devil can't give you peace, y'all. Trust me when I say this. To any decision you ever really have to make, that's the key. That's the key. I promise you this, because God is a rewarder of those who diligently seek him. And when you begin to have that relationship with him, that intimate relationship, and you pray for peace in your life, God will start to show you things. Now, that's why I say you got to be ready for what he's going to show you. You got to accept whether it's the good thing. Oh, thank you, Jesus. It's going to work out because I feel that peace. Because can't nobody take away your peace. And I'm going to tell you why. If I tell you 5 plus 5 equals 32, you're like, oh, no, that's not right. Because you know what you know what you know. But when you say 5 plus 5 equals 10, then you know without a doubt that's what it is. It's something about that peace that when peace comes in you, you know that it's peace. Sometimes it's unexplainable. But when you pray to God and you ask for that peace, he will show you. If I need peace in my marriage, God, peace in my marriage, I need peace. And there are some times when things may get more chaotic before that peace comes along. It's kind of like being in a storm. Sometimes the storm will come and it will rage, but I never seen a storm that stayed. Storms come and they go. They don't always stay. So you don't be so quick to say, "Oh, it's just a storm." Ask God to show you that peace. Ask for confirmation for that peace. And trust me, God would show it. I have been there. I'm not telling you something I haven't done. And I've done it time and time again. And that's why I know when God is moving in my life, because I begin, God give me peace, whether it's at the job, with a person, with a thing. Hey, has anybody ever out there ever dealt with that before? And if you haven't, tried and come back and tell me. Put comments in this, in the section if you've ever done it before. If you tried it and you know that God has moved in your life, and if you're in a relationship that you're trying to save, you better ask God for that peace. Ask Him for Him to show you and build you up, because only He, again, I mentioned this earlier, He is the glue to keep two people together. Doesn't matter if you're in a relationship or you're in a friendship. There are certain people that you don't even have to be around for years, but when you pick up the phone and talk with them or you see them, it's as if you've never been away from them. So that's why it's important to keep those relationships together and make sure that we're tied together. When we're tied together, can't nobody break that. I don't care how long you've been away, what you've done, or where you've been. When you are truly tied together, and that's a soul tie. And soul ties are not always sexual ties. There's some soul ties to people that you've been with for years that will always be your friend. They'll always be there no matter what. They may not have been there when you needed something, may not have been there when you needed somebody to have a shoulder to cry on, but they've always been a friend to you no matter what. So, we're almost at our closing point. It's almost been an hour. Life has its ups and downs. Things just happen. Relationships all around us. You might not think about the relationships, but just think about the person that you're sitting to next to. You have a relationship with them. You have a working relationship. You have a relationship with your significant other. We build relationships all the time, no matter if you don't think so or not. Learn how to communicate. Learn how to understand. You need to listen, and we have to be able to grow with one another. And I want you to be able to take these things and use this in your life. Whether you are a worker bee and you don't want to be a leader, you just want to work behind the scenes, this will work for you. And if you are a leader and you're a leader and you want to go to a next level and grow, you absolutely need these tools to grow. Because first of all, how can you be a leader if you can't be a servant first? You have to be a servant first before you're a leader. And I'll tell you this, everybody is a real leader. Because if you're a parent, if you're over your own home, you lead in your home, you lead in your work. If you're an individual contributor, you lead in your own right. If you're a manager, then you lead in people. You have normally go live on Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. with Pastor P. You will also have me on here on Tuesday night. So we come together, and I hope that you will join us. Hope that you will subscribe to us, and you'll see all of my videos. Fashion. I have some fun stuff on there that I know that you will love tonight. I love to dress, and you'll see me. Come dress with me, and I have these different suits and different outfits that I wear. Go check it out. If you need help with prayer, if you need help in relationships, you want to go traveling, I got something for you on my channel. Go check it out. Hey, I appreciate all of you for joining. Come back again. I plan on doing some lives around 11 o'clock, between 10 and 11 o'clock on a daily basis, but you can always catch me again on Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Central Time. I look forward to talking with you guys soon. Thank you for joining again. Please like, share, and subscribe to Wearing the King's Crown. I wish you guys the best. And before I go, I want to pray with you. I don't want to stop. I want to pray with each and every person on this live before I go. Let's just pray, because I want you to have an awesome day. I want you to have a great day. Heavenly Father, I ask that you touch each and everybody that's watching us today. Anybody that's under the sound of my voice, God, I pray for them right now. I pray that, God, that you will lift them up and as we glorify your name. God, I don't know what's going on in their lives, but you do. So I trust and believe that you will touch them in a mighty way. I ask that whatever they're asking your darling son, Jesus Christ's name, Father, that you would help them and grow them right where they are. If they have issues in their lives, whether it's with themselves, with a family member, I ask that you heal it and fix it. I ask that you build a better relationship with them so that they can know that you have never left them and that you have never forsaken them. And Father, you know that you said, be strong in the Lord and the power of his might. So right now, Father, we lift up our heads and our hearts to you because we need you more now than we ever have before, because we're living in the day that we've never seen. We're living in a time that we've never been in, but we know that, God, you will help us, give us discernment, give us sight to see things that many people may not be able to see. We need you. We need elevation. We ask that you bless our businesses, bless our lives, bless our children, bless us and touch us from the crown of our head to the sole of our feet. And I ask, Heavenly Father, that you would pour out a blessing that we don't have room enough to receive. There's somebody on here who needs you now, Father. Somebody may be in tears. Somebody may need a financial blessing. Somebody may need a healing. Maybe not only with them, maybe it's with somebody that they know. But God, I know that you do. So loose your angels right now and bless them in ways that they never thought that could ever happen. I trust and believe, Father, that if somebody's in a relationship and they're trying to strengthen their marriage or strengthen their dating, strengthen their loved one, whomever they're with, God, I ask that you give them the peace that they can know and understand, Father, that they can see you clearly and understand that it is you that bring two people together. It is you that is love, because God is love and you are everything that we desire. So right now, in the mighty name of Jesus, we pray this prayer in your darling son, Jesus' name. And I just believe that somebody's been helped. I believe somebody knows and understands that God is with you. Hey, I wish you the very best. Thank you for joining us today, wearing the King's Crown with Pastor P. Have a good one.